Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's 8:31 on, yeah, that's a little, okay. Okay. All right, we'll start again. Take two. Morning, everyone. It is 8:31 on Tuesday, March 5th. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen. Um, Before you have the agenda for today's meeting, I have two amendments that I would like to make for today's meeting. The first is to remove item 13 on the agenda. It's the backhoe repair. That item is being paid for out of our insurance, and we have no control over it. So I would just like to remove that item, and then I would like to add after item 18, um, the dump truck purchase that you see before you, if we can add that after the rapid rectangle flashing lights. So could I get a motion to approve the amended agenda? Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. And so we will move forward. You have the minutes from the regular meeting held on February 20th before you. Oh, sorry. Um, you have the minutes from the February 20th meeting. Have you had a chance to look at those? Could I get a motion to approve those minutes? Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Public comments. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the Board of Selectmen on education. Ugh, okay, I have education on the brain this morning. Okay. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments to the Board of Selectmen on agenda topics scheduled for review and/or vote. Comments submitted electronically should be sent to the following email addresses: bosdistribution@newcanaanct.gov. Any public comment? No one online, no one in the room. Okay, moving forward. Item 4, Fire Department apparatus repairs and service. Chief Bassett.
Yep. Good morning, all. The fire department is requesting increases in our blankets for, start with gallons night, to bring it up to 50,000 for one vendor. This is our apparatus repair vendor. We do have two invoices that came in for backup. There for one for 67 and one for 6,200. So you just need to bring that up to 50,000 for the one vendor for the year.
Do you know where were we before? Do you know?
Excuse me?
With that vendor, do we know where we were at
I was at 35,000 and
Okay.
we had another emergency repair and one invoice that didn't come in. So from when I asked for the 35.
Okay.
So one invoice was outstanding.
Quick question. So in terms of your budget overall, in terms of repair budget, are we kind of within the total budget, just in terms of which vendor's doing it is?
We're at total budget, we're at about 95% of apparatus repair.
There you go.
It's been an expensive year.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, you want to tell us about the other one before we?
Okay, the second one is, this was my fault coming in a couple months ago. I only increased the blanket, but didn't realize some of the stuff that we do annually back in July accounted for this. So we would like to increase our overall blanket to 40,000 with fire tech and safety, up to 40,000 with the one vendor. They do some major repairs in the beginning of the year, and this is all small repairs throughout the year that we need to bring it up for.
Okay, and again, what was the original blanket? Do you know?
The original blanket before the policy
Yep.
is only around $5,000
Oh, wow.
for repairs.
Okay.
But because of the compressor service that we do with them and the beginning of year air pack service that they do, that brings it up over. So the original blanket was 5,000 that we usually do.
And so you mentioned you're kind of at 95%, and we have a number of months left into the fiscal year. You know, are you going to be able to? Will we need to be transferring funds within accounts to be able to cover the? Do you feel like you're going to be able to
Unfortunately, I think on the apparatus repair, we are gonna go over, and I'm gonna have to look at the other accounts, because we have one piece of apparatus that still needs to go out for service.
Okay.
But for the other repairs, we seem to be okay, because those we can, finish the repairs and/or hold them off till July if there's something that's non-essential.
And did you, since we're going to be having a budget discussion tonight, you feel good with the repairs and maintenance line item based on sort of this for next year?
Yeah, we did have a significant increase in that one in the budget, so, I think it was like 10%, 10 or 15%, so, based on the way repairs have been going, so I believe we are okay moving forward.
Anyone else? Questions?
No, well, it's cheaper to repair, and we need it fixed, so you just have, some things we just have to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of increases in labor rates in this type of business. I don't know whether we're seeing some of that, but and part shortages.
Their labels are 160 an hour for labor, so. But they're doing very good work. Unfortunately, we keep finding things that they need to fix, so. Apparatus is getting older.
You're making a continued argument for young people to look at trade schools.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's amazing. Okay. Okay, so if I could get, if there are no more questions, a motion to approve a request from the fire department to increase two previously approved purchase orders as follows. Gowan's Night Company in an amount not to exceed $50,000 and Fire Tech and Safety in an amount not to exceed $40,000 to make necessary repairs on tanker trucks.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Chief. I'm usually so loud. I usually am trying to moderate down.
Tucker, is the green for Steve and I, is that bugging, is that messing up the background noise?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. If you want to do monitoring, that's fine, but we really do need to get it.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am here for purchase request, purchase order, blanket purchase order increases and approvals. 6, 7, and 8, they say into contract, but those are not contracts. Those are just normal purchases for money that's already been approved. First is the Police Academy, and these are for the 3 new officers that were approved previously. We're looking to put them in the academy in April. So the first one is a blanket purchase order for $19,000 for the Connecticut Police Academy for those 3 officers.
I have one question, Chief. How are we handling those officers that we sent to the academy and then decided not to become officers on our force and left? Is there a policy that the police have as far as
So there's
you need to
actually
work
state
a year?
legislation that if they leave within the first year, they are liable for reimbursing us.
Okay, so
They have to stay for a year. So the officers that resigned were on longer than that, and then one of the officers didn't go to the academy. He just did a comparative. He was already a
okay.
sworn officer in California.
Okay.
So we didn't incur this same
great.
level of
Okay.
expense. But we will look into that. But, there's still a cost to outfit the person and equip the person. And we take that equipment back and try to recycle it and reuse it for another officer that's onboarding if it fits, if it works. But there is legislation that if an officer gets hired, they have to stay for a minimum of a year.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good. Any other questions?
What's involved in this is a blanket purchase of to cover the costs. I'm sure there's like an initial cost of the service to be in there, but do we have to, what are we buying equipment for these officers as they go in, or?
Yeah, that's, you'll see
That's an
down
extra. Okay,
below.
so
like
all of that stuff is part of this whole.
Yeah,
So you're dividing out, like the 19,000 really is
that's just like
fee
the
to get 'em in
tuition
there.
to go to the police
Got it,
academy
Got it, okay.
and all that's incurred there. And then they're claiming that it's going to be an on-campus, not a commuter school. They've gone back and forth, but they kind of pulled the rug out on us last time, and told us it would be an overnight, meaning the officer would stay there Monday to Friday and come home on the weekends, but they changed that a week before, and now it was a commuter academy session. They're claiming that this will be an overnight session, but I don't have much faith in that, so. But anyway, that's the cost, and it's a tuition-based. The person's up there, Monday to Friday, and they eat lunch there, and they do classroom, and they hire instructors to come in and teach classes. So there is an expense to it.
How long is the course?
6 months.
6 months, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seems like a bargain.
So where is the funding for this coming from? Because it says it will require funding not originally budgeted. Your
From
memo.
contingency,
Okay,
town contingency, yeah.
Town contingency or PD contingency?
Well, it's town contingency. I don't have contingency
Okay.
in my budget.
I just wanted
so,
to make sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay.
It's only, so it's 6 months and it's only $19,000 for 3
Yeah.
people?
Previously, they didn't charge
It's a
anything.
pretty good deal.
It's not a bad deal.
It's like
It is.
$1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's really all it is for each guy.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Includes lunch?
It's not worth it for the lunch, trust me.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, so if I could get a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department for a blanket purchase order in the amount of $19,000 to cover costs of entry-level police recruits to attend the police academy.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Okay, police gear.
Okay, number 6, again, this is not entering into a contract. This is just a purchase order for ammunition. Again, the new officers go to the academy. They're each required at least 2,000 rounds of ammunition each, and that's a significant expense. So that's what this is for.
Okay, any questions? All right, if none, I will ask for a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department for a purchase order with Tactical Police Gear LLC in the amount of $15,115.90 for ammunition.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous, thank you. And then police ballistic vests.
And that is to enter into a purchase order with Angel Armor for ballistic vests for new officers.
So is that 3 vests? Is that what it is?
That's 3 vests, but I think that's a blanket purchase order for other vests that expire that we need to purchase throughout the year, too.
All right, so in your budget,
A
you
new
have enough
vest
for
is
the
about
vests, but-
$1,200.
Pardon?
A new vest is about $1,200
Okay.
for one.
Okay, so funds are available for the additional vests?
These we've had budgeted, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And the equipment just rotates back through. If we don't use, for instance, if we don't use the ammunition, or obviously we're going to use the vests again, it'll just come back into the department
The
again.
vests have about a 5-year lifespan, and those are kind of custom fit, so those are hard to put onto somebody else.
Right.
Oh, so they're actually custom fit to the officer?
Yes, semi-custom, length and.
There's a lot of stuff on those vests.
Yeah.
Well, the ballistic vest is.
Oh, underneath.
Has to fit properly, or else it
Oh, yep,
just doesn't work, so.
yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department for a purchase order with Angel Armor in the amount of $4,500 for ballistic vest purchases. Steve, Amy, it's unanimous, thank you. All right, and police vehicle equipment.
And this is just a previously approved vehicle upfit for one of our new vehicles. Again, it's not a contract, it's just a blanket purchase.
Okay, any questions? All right, if not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the New Canaan Police Department to purchase for a purchase order with specialty warning systems in the amount of $18,809.54 for the installation of emergency equipment in a Ford pickup police vehicle.
So moved.
Amy, it's unanimous. Okay. Moving on to, I think you're done, security
Yes.
cameras.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Joe.
Good morning.
Hey.
All right. Start with security cameras. So as part of the ongoing security and camera initiative, additional cameras will be installed at various locations throughout town. Darien Electric has been providing manpower and materials as required for the installation of these cameras. They work directly with the Department of Public Works and the IT department to provide the power and connectivity as required for any particular location. We've been working on the low-lying fruit, the most cost-effective locations that have been requested throughout town. That's what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Darien Electric is familiar with the electrical and low-voltage cabling at these locations, and therefore they're the most cost-effective contractor to perform the work on a time and material basis. The cameras are purchased separately by the town. We don't buy the cameras to them. There's no need to pay the markup. Chris helps source them, and we buy them directly. That's it. So I'm here to request for the Department of Public Works to enter a time material contract with Darien Electric for a not to exceed value of $15,000, and their labor rate was identified in the quote.
Do you have any questions?
Joe, this is distinct from the cameras we approved 2 weeks ago, which was for the vehicles for the
Yes.
PD renovation. This
Yes.
is distinct. Okay, thank you.
So with this approval, how much more work do we need to do as a town? I mean, I just, I'm approving $15,000 to put cameras up. How much more do we have to do?
Yeah, as much as the town wants to do, or as little as the town wants to do.
So because I haven't seen these camera
Yes.
locations.
Yeah.
So who's making the decision on where we're putting those
So
cameras?
there was a plan that was put in place a couple years ago with the low-lying fruit and a list of the locations that we were going to bring over
Okay.
to the camera system. So we bought like 4 years ago, we bought a new Milestone camera system, video management system. So we've been bringing stuff from old systems over onto that system so that they can be recorded for the 90 days. And there's one system that we use to view everything. So we've been doing that. We've been adding cameras when they've been requested, mostly by it's usually by some sort of town initiative where we work with the police department, and there is a list of areas that we would like to hit, and I'd be happy to go through with those.
Yeah, I think that would probably be a
with
good
you.
idea in an executive session
Yeah.
to have that, because I'm happy today to do this approval, but I would like to understand where we are and where we're potentially going and the possible, costs associated, and if we still want to have, we may want to make modifications to the plan.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And I think both Steve and I were probably in those executive sessions a couple years ago, but probably we all have to come up to speed and, like you said, review it.
Yep,
Right.
okay,
Yes, be happy to bring that forward.
Thanks.
great. So maybe, Tucker, yeah, okay,
Sure.
perfect, thank you.
So that would be an executive session. I just want to make sure I
Yes.
Yeah.
tailor it correctly. Okay,
Yes.
perfect.
Yes. Okay, so any other questions? All right, if I could get a motion to approve the request that Mr. Zagorensky read earlier.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank
All right,
you.
and then police facility renovation soil study.
Yep, so during the removal of the boiler room floor, we discovered some discolored soil with a petroleum smell. So that's why I'm here today. So Fuss and O'Neill will evaluate this unforeseen condition. They'll identify the limits of any potentially contaminated soil, test the soils for contaminants, and then make a plan for the removal and proper disposal. And the funds are available for this in the soft cost budget under the environmental consultant. So it's kind of one of those unexpected expenses.
Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you renovate an old building like this, underneath the furnace, you'd expect that. So it's just part of what we're doing over there.
Okay. So if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Fuss and O'Neill in the amount of $8,680 plus a contingency of $1,400 for a total cost of $10,080. The project entails the professional services required for evaluation and characterization of potentially impacted soils at 174 South Avenue as part of the Police Department building renovation.
So moved.
Second,
Yep.
it's unanimous. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jeff.
Thank you.
again, we have police facility renovations, furniture, fixture, and equipment.
Yeah, so it's time in the project to purchase the FF&E. The design team, been very happy with Humes and all their consultants. So we'd like to bring the design team to work with the town to finalize all our furniture needs. They will provide the PD with options and costs. They'll prepare bid packages for the furniture package. They will go out to bid on the project for the town, and they'll assist with the procurement and the installation of the furniture. So we have roughly a $600,000 budget for the furniture for this project. So we'd like to get them working on this proposal helps them complete the details so we can go out to bid and get this procured.
Joe, why, if this is a contract to, evaluate what furniture or other things we may, why do we have a contingency? Don't we just have a contract to, this is your job to fit it out? And
Well,
I
I
know
mean-
Tiger drives me crazy when I ask about the contingencies, but in this, if this is like a professional service that we're hiring for this phase, isn't it kind of inclusive?
Yeah, I mean, for basically anything that they would have anticipated, but if we ask them to do, some of the high-density, storage, equipment and those sort of things that are just kind of on the fringe, there might be a need for it. If you don't want to put contingency into this, don't put contingency in it.
No, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just
No,
saying
I'm not a
why.
fan of on design fees having contingency. I think it keeps the contractors on target. They know what they have and they design, I think it's a very valid point.
And look, if the scope goes dramatically beyond, then you come back and say, we need money.
Yeah.
And it's within
Sure.
the
Yeah.
PD department budget, so, I don't know, I just,
It's-
if there's a good reason to do it, but like if I was having someone kind of do my architectural design, I'd be like, that's what I'm paying you.
They don't
Yeah.
know that they have a contingency. We don't tell them.
Yeah.
I feel like we're always getting the contingency billed. And I think we need to start a new process. I agree with you, Amy. I mean, I understand with development or digging, like any construction, we need contingency, but with,
And even procurement of materials.
right.
You know.
Right, but a
Contracted
design
services.
fee is, I've never, ever seen us need, but I understand what you're saying, but I think it's very, we'd be very open, we're having this discussion, that we would be open if we needed to, but I think it's important to tell our contractors this is what they have.
Well, in this particular contract, I think we have enough time.
Yep.
So that if there is anything that comes up, I'll be able to come back to you. So I'm not overly concerned about the
Okay.
contingency on this one.
That's
And
great.
it
If you'd
also
like to
might
take it
be,
out.
as we go, it might be more efficient to pay them for more design work going on. It may save us money in the long run, but
Yeah.
let's start with this if we can.
Okay.
That's okay?
Yeah, I agree.
And Joe, for disclosure, Brian Humes is part of this firm? Is there a connection there, or?
So Jakunski and Humes, Brian Humes is
Right.
one of the principals of the firm,
Okay.
correct. Yeah, the majority of this work would be through a sub-consultant, just like a lot of the other items, the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing, there's the soil, the civil, was all second-tier designers.
And in like Darien, when they did their building, and I know Brian worked on that building, was this firm used for a similar look at Darien? Do you know?
I can't speak to whether CAMA was used. CAMA is the second-tier designer, but they've worked with the committee already on all the finishes.
Yep.
So they're a logical choice for this project.
Yep.
Good. Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract extension with Jakunzi Humes Architects LLC in the amount of $58,650. The project entails the providing of professional services for the FF&E design work as part of the police department building renovation.
So moved.
Second.
Amy, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
That wasn't an easy one to read. Impressive.
Yes, me.
Keep going.
All right,
Good morning.
good morning.
So I'm back with irrigation proposals, minus the construction management part of that. With that said, you will see that there is, in my memo.
You're ready for us.
contingent- Well,
You are ready for it.
I'm sort of ready for it. That there is some contingency of $4,800, which is 15%. The only reason we'd like some contingency in there, the one thing that's not included in his proposal is cost estimates. We don't think we'll need to have cost estimates on all the systems because that will vary over the next couple of years. We're not going to be able to do them all instantly, but it'd be good for the first one so we know when we go out to bid about where we're going to be. So that's not included in his proposal. So with that said, if
So what do you need for cost estimates? You don't need 15%.
don't need 15%.
So what do you need for cost
How about
estimate?
$1,200?
There we go. I like that.
A quarter of it, start, and again, if we have to come back, like we
Okay.
came back with the change in the
right.
proposals, that's not a problem.
So just, I know, I'm just adding this back up. Plus,
3,300? That's what I got.
got.
Okay.
3 of us got the same number. That's great.
Okay.
All right.
And John, you mentioned, oh, sorry, part of the design you mentioned in the past, we'll have central controls on this now, where you'll have either apps or some sort of central monitoring where you can actually measure water usage, and there may be
Exactly.
savings there.
The one thing that's going to help us is a lot's changed in irrigation in 25 years, so that we're hoping that our systems can become certified, which we don't really need to have them certified, but it shows we're doing what's right for the environment.
What does that mean, certified?
It's
By whom?
by either the designer themselves or whoever we get the sprinklers from. The sprinklers being the key part of the environmental part, so that they're putting down the water actually on the grass, not as much in the air. So
I'm still questioning who
who,
certifies them.
well, sprinklers come from many different companies, so we haven't decided.
I mean, are there standards we're getting certified to?
Yes, there is standards. When we did the irrigation at Waveney House, that uses Aquarian water. And so to have that certified, that allows us more flexibility when we can water when we're in drought conditions.
Okay,
Okay, so that's the main reason why we'd like to be certified. We also like to do what's right.
yeah. Who is the certifier? Who
The
is this
certifier
entity?
at Waveney House was the designer of the irrigation system. He has special
And there
certification.
are certain standards, I'm just,
I know, you're like, who gave that designer the
it's
certification?
like when
Exactly.
you drive out and it says, world famous, award-winning cheesesteak, according to who? So,
Exactly. I believe it's state, but I'm not 100% sure.
okay.
So-
I just be curious. I mean, it makes sense to do them as well as you can. If you find out who the
Yeah.
certifier is, let us know.
Well, similar 25 years ago with the well pumps we installed, since then we've had to replace them, and we've put in variable speed wells, which help with our water usage, but also our electricity. So instead of having a big pump running whenever you're running one sprinkler, you have one that's variable speed and changes how much flow it is. So all of that incorporated together will help us with these systems. Say nothing about we're at the point now where we need to start replacing them. Regularly, you'd expect 20 years out of a system, and we're, for the oldest ones, 25.
Keep pushing it, babe. No.
So John, do you anticipate having a budget or a proposal where you're coming back to us for everything all at once, or will we decide to piece it, or how do you?
Our
how do you
number one
anticipate?
priority is Mead Park, and that's mainly because that's where we've had the most mainline failures.
Yeah.
So that's where we'd start. And also, tennis courts need to be watered every single night, so we really need to have a good system there.
Does mainline failure mean a pipe's burst
Mm-hmm.
or,
Yep, pipes burst, pipes crack.
yeah, and you just get this spout of water or something?
Yep. So, and going back to your question about irrigation controls, we haven't determined what controls we'll have, but yes, we'll be able to centrally control the sprinklers, sending out programs, being able to test them, et cetera.
There's so many changes in modernization. I
Yep.
mean, it should save a lot. It would think it would save a lot of water over time.
We should be able to save some water. We still need,
Yeah, you still have to.
in New England during the summer, we need about an inch of water for quality grass growth a week. So whether it's rain or supplemented with irrigation.
And we have it in here, obviously, the high school and some of the fields up near the high school. I know it's same pants, different pockets, but how does the Board of Ed fit into this? I mean, is there?
We have that property is technically, and Tiger can speak to this, that property is technically town property.
Right.
At the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
Where we
high
include-
school.
Where the fields
fields are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's,
Like with the Sac School, that field it is Board of Ed controlled.
Right.
But the same well that runs Saks runs Connor Field, which isn't Board of Ed controlled behind the maintenance garage there. But we maintain the fields and take care of all the repairs and everything else, so that's why.
It's worked. It's better that way. So. Okay. Good.
any other questions?
Yeah, but just to put this in perspective, so 2 weeks ago, the estimate was about 50,000, and now we're down to 33. So, I mean, we may have those expenses later, but it's best to just put aside what we need now.
Time value of money. You spend it, you don't spend as much early and you spend it later. So there we go. Okay, so if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Parks and Rec Department to enter into 4 contracts with Northern Designs of North Haven, Connecticut for design of replacement irrigation systems at Mead Park, New Canaan High School, or the Orchard Water Tower softball fields and Saks Connor fields as follows. Mead Park, $10,000. Orchard Water Tower, $5,600. High School, $6,500. Saks and Connor, $10,000. And then a contingency of $1,200, totaling $33,300. Motion? Steve, Amy, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Tiger, Waveney Wall Repair.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this first item is for, really? I don't know, I listened to myself this morning for an hour and a half. I was pretty good, but, okay. All right. Well, I've been accused that my voice carries all the way through town hall, so it's all good. So this first is for Waveney Wall Repair. We've been working on this wall repair for the past year or so with Falachi Masonry. This has been a joint partnership with the Conservancy, and we have 2 small sections to go. One on the northern side, which you would consider to be the town's responsibility, and one on the southern side, which you would consider to be the Conservancy's responsibility, or purview, I should say. So we went to Falachi for a request for a quote. He gave us on the northern portion, which is approximately 150 feet long, for $17,750. And on the southern side, it's approximately 200 feet long for $23,850. He works, he quotes us on basically $900 per day effort and how much he thinks he can accomplish throughout. The Parks Department helps and the Highway Department helps. We actually help set some of the stones and dig some of the foundation work for him. So the subtotal comes to $41,600. I added a contingency of 4 days, 2 days per side, just to make sure that we'll be able to finish for $3,600 for a total of $45,200. And the cost will be shared between the town and the Conservancy.
So is this a time, so this is a time and
It's a
materials
time,
job?
yes, we provide the materials, it's a time basis. He's
Okay.
at $900 a day. But when I did out the cost estimate as far as, if we were to bid this out, normally it's about $25 to $50 a square foot face, okay? So it's 3 feet up, 1 foot over, 3 feet down approximately. So 7 feet times 200, you get to be about 1,400 square feet itself. And a square feet of face, because it's double facing, and at $50, we're well past that number. We're in the $50,000 range at that point in time. So overall, he's saving us money if we were to actually go out and bid this to a masonry contractor, another masonry contractor. And he's done the entire wall to date,
it looks
and it looks fantastic. So we just want to finish the 2 ends up by the Benko pool and then down by the leaf melt site, or the 2, until they run into the trees. And once they run into the trees, then that visual aspect is gone. And the monies are available in both accounts.
In both accounts.
Sorry, yeah.
So
Question?
Is it the Conservancy is picking up the southern portion? and we
Conservancy's
did-
picking up the southern portion, the town's picking up the northern
But
portion,
we
that's
have to
correct.
prove all of it, even though, we need
Yes,
to prove the
yes,
entire.
yes, you do.
Okay.
Sorry.
And so how are you working the contingency then? So if the contingency goes to the southern portion, the Conservancy's going to
That's
pay for
correct.
it, and if it goes to the northern portion, the town is?
That's correct. Yeah, and it'll come off of, on his invoice, because he quoted me two separate, okay? I have them combined here. I could have done two, he quoted me two separate sections, and then he'll bill me, excuse me, on two separate sections. So we'll know exactly how to invoice and how to apply that invoice.
Does he still get volunteers from the community to help? I mean, some of the walls that he's done with volunteers have been amazing. I mean,
We had, yeah, so we had, a couple of years ago, we had a group of high school interns helping him with the first portion of that was when we started out in front of the leaf mulch site. He did some work there with about 5 students. This predominantly has been all himself, and then some, like I said, it's supplemented with a little bit of help from us, but mostly backhoe work, if you will, or supplying the stones, not necessarily moving them into place. I've watched him move stones into place. It's an engineering feat for one man, one gentleman to move it, but it's quite interesting because he sets up a series of stairs, so to speak, and then rolls a stone from one stair to the next, and then is able to place it in the location he wants, and then moves those stones in as well. It's quite interesting to watch.
yeah, he's an artist. I mean, it's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
he's an artist, and he's very excited. He's if you go down there and visit, you can get a lesson in stonemasonry in 15 minutes. You know, I would suggest it, to be honest with you.
I'm going to do a drive-by.
Yeah, I'll let you know when he's there. So
Good.
All right, any other questions? If not, could I get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with Malachi Masonry in the amount of $41,600 plus a contingency of $3,600 for a total cost of $45,200. The project entails a reconstruction of the existing stone walls in Waveney Park along Lapham Road.
Second.
thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you.
So this next is a request to, we have an agreement with the condo association, the Park Slope property, Park Slope LLC, to establish a pedestrian easement along the eastern border of the park. And as part of that agreement, it is the town's responsibility to have it surveyed and then placed on the land records. So I went to RKW for I initially went to the surveyor who had helped us with additional work on Park Street and in Mead Park. He's swamped, he can't do the work, he's overburdened. So I went to RKW and asked for a price to help us with this establishment of this easement. RKW had helped us establish an easement at the Nature Center with the First Presbyterian Church on that land swap that we did. So they're well versed in what needs to be done, and they've done excellent work for us. And the price came in at $2,250. And since we're already over the 10,000 from the board select for the first selectman's perspective, we're asking for this amount
So
here.
Tiger, can you go into why we want this easement?
It's not a question of why, it's a question of need. So this came about when we were discussing placing the
Sidewalks.
flexi-paved walk through that area. It was determined that their property actually extends closer to the park than was originally anticipated, originally known. We thought we owned further back. So at that point in time, it was determined that the predominance of the pedestrians are walking on Park Slope property. And they felt that they wanted certain protections from that. They didn't want to stop the pedestrians. They certainly don't want the walkway itself across their property, but they don't want to stop the pedestrians, but they, feel compelled to have some protections thereof.
You're talking like liability protection.
Exactly. So they stated that, in order to continue forward, even though we had been doing it for 50+ years, they would like an easement. And that was part of the overall agreement was to establish this easement. It's approximately 10 feet wide. We already have an easement beneath the ground there for our sanitary sewer system. There's a sanitary line that runs from Richmond Hill to the pump station that's right there. It's underground, but so we can go on in there and maintain it, but we necessarily can't have people walk over it. So now this would be a pedestrian easement over the top. And has certain stipulations as far as they don't want to see any benches or trees planted on it without their approval, things of that nature. But then the establishment of the easement was to be the town's responsibility, since we were asking for the easement for our residents to be able to continue to walk.
Okay, so the survey's part of the easement, then we're gonna have to draw up a legal document for the
We
easement?
already have, the legal document's been approved.
Oh, 'cause that's
The-
already been
yeah,
paid for?
and as
Okay.
part of that was this survey itself. So that's been established. I just need to have the survey then approved and attached to the document and then put into the land records.
Okay.
So the
this
survey is the
this
last step.
Last step, no
Yes.
additional cost.
That's
Okay.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because we're not going to do any flexi-pay. They don't want any flexi-pay there.
They do not want a flexi-pay walk across their property, so at present, that project's been tabled. Correct.
And they even mentioned benches and trees as well. They don't,
We had, unfortunately, we had 3 Gold Star walk trees planted on their property. We thought, they were replacements of existing back when it was originally established, when the walk was established. So we had to relocate those trees.
Really? Okay, sorry.
so,
Sorry.
so they,
So we,
so they own, then they own right to the pond. then.
they own, well, yeah, very close. Yeah, very close. It's actually sort of a tooth design, so each area that comes down gets rather close to the pond's edge. That's correct.
And then it tapers off as you go closer
And
to
then
the other.
as you head north along the pond and the pond's on your left, their property starts to, move off to the east, so to speak. But there are 2 locations where it's very close to the pond.
That's interesting. I mean, all those years of skating over that area, and you'd never think that always looked like, because we mowed that lawn, didn't we?
We still maintain the area, that's correct, and we will continue to maintain the area. That is
Wow.
correct. So,
But we already have, you said a sanitary sewer easement
Yes.
under it?
correct, but that only allows us to have the sanitary sewer easement underneath it and then come onto their property for maintenance thereof.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow us to actually put pedestrians on top of it. But it's,
Right.
in essence, the easements are almost on top of each other, if you will.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny, would we put a tree on top of a sanitary sewer?
It was off to the edge.
Is that- okay.
Yeah, it was off to the edge.
Whatever, that's where we are, but,
It was far off to the edge, so it wouldn't have affected the sanitary line itself, and that, but a good question, but it wouldn't have affected the line.
Do they have a fence between that area, or does it go right up to the?
It was stone wall, and
That's
there's a
stone
lot
wall,
of
okay.
plantings
Okay.
in the area. But they have had residents walk through their property to come down into the pond, down to the pond.
Yeah.
Because there is a staircase that leads from their parcel down. They've gated that now and said that it was, just for residents of Park Slope itself. So residents would have to walk, to the driveway and around.
Yeah.
So they
There's a
have had,
delineating stone wall between the grass and where that property is. So you're not walking up right at somebody's terrace. Or
no, you
something, right?
can't. No, there's a stone wall and then there's plantings to protect the terraces and protect their decks.
Yeah.
You can't walk straight on there. The sidewalk went up to their parking area and their walkways and then led out to Park Street to the sidewalk. That's why residents were using it, in essence, as a cut-through.
Yeah, I mean, you can understand the values of those condos now based on, and people want their privacy. I get it, so. Okay.
All right, any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with RKW Land Surveying in the amount of $2,250 to conduct a land survey as part of the Park Slope property at Mead Park.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous, thank you.
Thanks, Tiger.
All right, thank you.
Speed Sentry purchase.
So this is to purchase 2 more speed sentries from All Traffic Solutions. It's underneath a Sourcewell contract for $13,987.44. We are getting, from the police perspective and for traffic calming, we're getting an inordinate amount of requests for monitoring, speed monitoring, and then the feedback that the signs provide, not only to the resident, to the driver, but also to the motorist, to the town itself, so we can actually highlight our enforcement. So the police came to us and asked for an additional installation. We went back to All Traffic Solutions, who has been supplying all of our speed sentries to date, and underneath this contract, we request the purchase, and the funds are available.
how many do we have in total?
I think this will make 8 to 10. We have some that are permanent and then some that are rotate. Yeah, these will be 2 more permanent installations. Andrew Walsh, the deputy chief, could tell you exactly where. I've forgotten offhand. I apologize.
That's
But we're,
fine.
they've been proven effective,
Yeah,
you know, and the residents are requesting them. We had a resident request another one on Conrad. We have one facing one way on Conrad. Like that, you know, we're installing another one in the opposite direction. Same thing on Talmadge Hill. We had one facing one direction, place one across the street.
Are those those are temporary?
They're solar powered. They're considered a permanent installation, but they could be moved. We don't have everything that we have is either battery powered, meaning it's up for 7 days and it has to come back in to be recharged, or it's solar powered at present, whereby we could take the installation down and move it, if we would. But a couple of places are what we would call semi-permanent Valley Road, in front of, on the other side of Silvermine, for that reason, in front of the Silver Hill Hospital, on the other side of Silver Hill Hospital, for that reason, to let everyone know that they're coming into a pedestrian zone where they wouldn't necessarily imagine a pedestrian zone. So to let them know that they're coming there, to give them their speed there. So those are I will call semi-permanent.
And Public Works is the one who moves them around, not PD, right?
At present, yes, because PD is lacking an individual, but going forward, it usually was one gentleman from PD and one gentleman from Public Works would then move them and place them and maintain them, yeah. The maintenance gentleman from the police department would sister up with one gentleman from the highway department, and it seemed to work out very well for us.
Okay.
The shared cost, or the
Fred
shared.
Tierney for years was both of
Fred
those.
Tierney did it forever, God rest his soul, right, so, yeah, he took that very seriously, that part of his job.
So are these the same, because I understand it was at the police commission meeting where the residents of Conrad were talking about these speed
Yes.
sentries and that the solar doesn't really, they've
They
been
said
having
it
a lot
wasn't
of
working.
problems with the solar and they run out and they're not really. Yeah, so are these solar, it looked like these were solar.
These are solar
So
powered.
why are we purchasing more solar if they're not very effective?
John,
They are? So wait, but I heard from the residents that they,
So I think,
I
I
just
think
wanna
the issue, I think
understand.
the issue is during the winter and during rainy days, you know, these solar.
In a period of 11 days where the sun didn't shine.
Yeah.
yeah, well, we live in New England and the Midwest is the same way. I mean, like,
Yes.
you know, we live in an area where we don't have sun. I mean, look at today, it's gonna be all week where we have
Those-
rain. So I mean,
We have
I'm
the
all
solar
for solar.
signs in other locations, they work
Okay.
very well. I think it was just,
it's the first instance of ever having an issue, and we've had solar powered, the rapid rectangular
Okay.
flashing beacon, regular beacons for school bus stop ahead signs, and the solar powered for the speed sentry. That was the first time that we actually had an incidence where we had an issue.
Okay.
You know,
So I just like, because these are not inexpensive, I mean, for two, we're looking at over $13,000. You know, I'd like to maybe really monitor how well they're working, because now we have,
we monitor them closely.
do you? Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah,
All
they work well. Like Tiger said, we have them on
Okay.
Valley Road. They work very effectively there.
Okay.
Silver
So the
Mine
timing
Road.
of my election and the timing of lots of great days and not working, it just was,
So,
it's,
so the way, this may be over your pay grade, but so these solar sentries, basically, they have a solar panel on them that charges a battery that then powers the unit, I guess, right?
Correct.
So, and are there timers where, are they working at night too, or do they go off at like midnight and come back on again? Are they?
I believe they probably have some power saving mode when they're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
picking up a car go by. They don't draw that much
Right.
battery power, I would think.
right, but they are, one of the reasons they're on 24/7, so you would know if you have a problem at 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning with speeders coming through, what have you. But they are on 24/7. We could set the timer differently. And then what we also had was we were giving additional feedback from the sign at the time. So if you were traveling at a
I
good
love your
speed.
feedback.
Right. Well, the feedback, you have to remember something. The feedback that's 2 times for each car now, right? So not one to read it and then one to give you the feedback, right?
Yeah.
So we're asking the battery to do twice the
Yeah.
amount of work. So the thought is to
so
then
maybe not
to
give
scale that back during the winter and say, don't give you the feedback, even though, yes, it is
Oh,
nice
it's
to have the
great though. They'll
feedback.
say things like splendid speed.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
I think,
Right. So.
I think,
do you make those little statements?
Yes,
How-
that's what I do. I see
hats
my
off.
office.
I think it's great. But I find these are just, they're so helpful. It just, even, just you're just regular, you're just not paying attention and they just kind of go, oh, I should slow down,
Well, it's
and
positive reinforcement rather
the
than,
splendid speed is
Yes,
very
yeah,
chippy. Yeah.
nice job, it says.
Yeah.
Right.
There's all kinds of, yeah.
Yeah. If they go too fast, does it say whoa or something?
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
All right, any other
No,
questions?
I just think the solar technology is improving a lot, so
Yes.
hopefully these units.
And like Tiger said,
Continue
the
to improve.
alternative is when they're just battery powered, we can only leave them out there for a maximum of 7 days, and then we have to pull them back in, recharge the battery, so it's quite cumbersome to do
Yeah.
that, and it's not as effective for situations like Conrad where we want some continued feedback.
How long do we think these will last? And obviously, technology changes and stuff. What do you think? They're a 5-year equipment? It says 3-year warranty, so.
It's probably more the battery life, and then once the battery does so many cycles, we
Right.
could replace the battery, but I think the equipment would still work, so the solar panel,
Okay.
the sign itself, so it may be maybe a 5-year, I'm just guessing.
I mean, how long have we had
Yes.
them? How long
We've
have we
had some that are actually longer than 5 years old.
Okay.
And we've had to replace one set of battery cycles so far once, but we haven't had to replace a unit.
the unit? Okay.
Right, so, to John's point, we're probably 5 to 10 years easy on the service life. Batteries are probably about 4 to 5. So we're on, like I said, we're through one cycle. We just replaced one set of batteries several months ago, let's say, probably October-ish, I believe, where we set one set of batteries. They just weren't holding charge.
Yeah.
But the units themselves were perfectly fine.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying they're inexpensive, but for something to have that level of useful life at 6,500 a pop is it seems like a pretty good value.
Yep, yep. Just while we're on the subject, I know, and we have you both sitting at the table here, there's been reports about Gertie's and the light there. Can you comment on that just for a minute as far as where we are with getting that?
I'll take that. Sure. So it's a great question. So our consultant, Hardesty in Hanover, finished their analysis of the light itself, and it was determined that originally when they went out there, it wasn't functioning properly. So we went back to the DOT and said, it's not functioning properly. They came out and made an adjustment and actually put in a 360-degree camera to help the situation. That made it better, but didn't make it, optimized. So they went and looked at what the timing would be to try to optimize the signal for all users, not necessarily just for 124, because the state optimizes it for their route. And it was determined that we could take 9 seconds away from one leg and give it to Gertie's. The Gertie's, like 9 seconds might not sound like a lot, but in traffic time it is, to then help alleviate some of that flow. That report has to go, is being prepared to go. Hardesty in Hanover is going to submit it to the DOT, traffic engineering, to have them look at it because they have to approve that change. And at that point in time, it would be going into the box, into the cabinet, and making the timing change. And then we could come back out and monitor again or receive anecdotal evidence as to whether or not it's being effective or not. But that's the next step, is that we actually have to go to the DOT and have permission to change the box, change the timing. And hopefully we'll get a positive response.
It was amazing the process it takes to change one box. It's crazy. But
It's not
that's
ours.
state. That's
State
state.
DOT.
Yep.
If it was ours, we would have already changed the
Yeah,
timing,
exactly,
but we don't control that. And we can't, by law,
Yep.
go
Oh,
into their
understood,
box.
Understood. So from a resident standpoint, how long, any idea? I mean, a couple months, is it?
I would say a couple months, easy.
Jeez.
There's not that many that they're on the DOT side. There's not as many people working on these, situations. To their, let's say, to be fair to them, right? There's not as many staff members on the DOT side, and they've got thousands of lights, right? They got thousands of intersections in our district. So when you come to them with a request, they have others, they have a backlog of others that they're looking at. So to be fair to them, I would say, yeah, we have to give them a couple of months. They've been very responsive when we've asked for, the signal is out, signal is flashing, things of that nature. They've been responsive to that. But this is a little bit different because this gets into the design, and then whether or not they actually want to go forward with it, right? Because like I said, they'll still defer to the state route, and they might just say no. We don't want to change the level of service for the state side, and what it is on Gertie's, it is on Gertie's. We hope that won't be the answer, but we can try.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works at the request of the New Canaan Police Department to enter into a contract with All Traffic Solutions in the amount of $13,987.44 for the installation of 2 speed sentries at various locations in town.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Thank you.
So this next one is a purchase of a rapid rectangular flashing beacon for Valley Road that was involved in a motor vehicle accident. It's a replacement for one unit. I showed you pictures of the accident itself. What we will do is we put in a claim for it already, but we need the unit back. We need to buy the unit, have it installed, and then we'll seek reimbursement for the total of the cost of the unit. We normally don't ask for our staff time. So this is for $6,200, $700 for freight, for $6,900 to replace one of the beacons that was involved in this accident. It was unfortunately, it was a total loss. We went there to try to see if there was something we could salvage from it, but all the lenses were broken, the signs were bent, the posts were not allowed to be used, and we were a little bit afraid to use the motherboard since it wasn't an accident inside, to take the motherboard out of the unit and you reuse it. So, but we did take a look and see if there was something to be saved. There was nothing salvageable.
So Tyler, is this going through our insurance or through the driver's
It
insurance?
goes through the driver's
Okay, good.
insurance. So we go to Kerma. Kerma,
Yep.
Seeks
Yep.
reimbursement for that, and then
Okay.
the monies will come back in. And at that point in time, we have them deposited back into our account, and we're made whole at that
Okay.
point, or as whole as possible. Sometimes they come in and they negotiate a price. This one here is pretty standard. It costs us $6,900 to buy it. Give us the $6,900.
So have you, after this, will you submit it to the insurance or have you already
We've submitted it already.
You've already submitted it,
Yes,
okay.
they're already aware of this,
Okay.
and we just need to, then they'll go through that process.
Okay.
And then when that shakes itself out, we'll get the monies back and we'll deposit them back into the account that we took it from.
Okay. How long does that usually take, that turnaround?
Weeks, if not months,
Okay.
to be quite honest.
Okay.
I'll be gentle on months.
You still like that spot? Not going to happen again.
You can see it was,
Yeah,
it was
it
in
looked like a
the
straightaway.
snow. You have no idea. I mean, it's pretty far off the road.
Yeah.
The pictures tell you everything you need to know. It's a good distance off the road. It's just, they didn't make that turn for whatever reason. You don't know. I don't know if they were trying to turn into Silver Hill and just continued to slide. I don't know.
That's more weather related than person related.
I would say so, yeah. I mean, the road looks pretty clear.
Yeah.
If you look in the picture, the road looks pretty clear, so I think our guys did a fine job on it. Just don't know exactly what happened.
Yep, okay.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with East Coast Signs in the amount of $6,200 plus a freight charge of $700 for a total cost of $6,900 for the purchase of an RRFB replacement on Valley Road. Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
So this is, sorry. So this is for a purchase of 2 installations of a rapid rectangular flashing beacon, one at Gower Road at South School. This was a request from the school principal, Matt Kazak, and the school resource officer, Officer Gibson. What we were seeing is we have one down below. So we have one at the pedestrian crossing that leads to the playground. The pedestrian crossing up at the top, we're right before the circular drive for Gower, for South School. Residents were coming through that, or motorists were coming through that, not necessarily paying attention to the students in the crosswalk or guards that were out there, monitors that were out there. We put in additional no parking signs to try to free up the area, and we're still having a problem. And then the other is at Kimberly and Elm Street at Kimberly Place. There's a large contingent of people that come from Kimberly Place and try to cross Elm Street at this location. It's been a long-standing request. So both have been approved by the Police Commission. Both installations have received approval from the Police Commission. This is under an Omnia purchasing contract, something similar to a Sourcewell contract. It's with East Coast Sign. They've been our supplier of the TAPCO signs since we started going with TAPCO for $23,000. $900 in freight for $23,900.
Tiger, why are these more expensive than the ones we just approved, the one we just approved?
The one that we approved is one.
No, I know, there's
Okay.
only 2, but it's more than double, so that's why I'm asking.
It's, well,
For the set.
It's a set, so this is just, what we
This
just
is essentially
approved was
for 4.
one, and this is essentially 4. Okay,
exactly, yeah.
That
Sorry
was the
about that.
question.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Terry, can I ask you, and this is, it goes back to that Jeff Speck presentation in terms of these flashing lights, and I think about the ones that I know where they're like, when you come across Elm Street and you're going to Weed, so people can do that cross where you go to Irwin, do we know how effective these are? I mean, you certainly want to do anything to make people slow down. And people just don't think of pedestrian crossings as, and just, do we know these work? I mean,
They, according to studies, they have a 92% adherence rate,
okay,
an initial adherence rate, and it doesn't necessarily drop off. All the other measures that are out there, the adherence rate, so the adherence to the sign drops off dramatically after the sign's installed.
like if you
months
put a
after.
stop sign up, people are gonna run
Stop
it?
signs are a little bit different, but because if it's properly installed, then
Oh, you mean
necessarily you
versus the
wouldn't get it.
pedestrian crossing signs?
Pedestrian crossing sign, noticing that there's a pedestrian there, or other signs, the rapid rectangular flashing beacon probably has the greatest adherence rate
Okay.
out of all the measures that we've been installing.
Yeah, because I happen to go down that one intersection a lot, and I see a lot of people not realizing people are trying to cross even with it flashing. I mean, it's just,
I see it going up Farm Road. I mean,
Well,
at
Farm Road is a different,
excess.
right, Farm Road is a different
Interesting.
animal, that's an unfortunate thing. I mean, we're also getting into driver behavior now, right? So
Sure.
driver behavior is awful at present, I don't know
So
how
New
else to
Canaan's
describe
at a
it.
50 and the rest of the world is at 92? I mean, because literally, I'm seeing what you see. I don't know how effective they are.
Is there a sign on Weed Street in the middle of the road, like in the middle of that crosswalk? Because I know at South Avenue where folks are coming, the
No,
kids
I don't
come
think there is.
through Waveney and they cross to the Y. There's the sign in the middle of the road, basically. And when those things go off, I mean, people do pay attention. Now, that's a long distance to be able to see. Some of these don't have that kind of visibility, but having something right in the road is also.
Yeah, we typically put the stanchion, the pedestrian, you're talking the pedestrian stanchions, we typically put those out from April 1 to,
Right,
say.
when the weather's a little nicer, 'cause you
Yeah,
gotta
to
plow around.
Halloween or past. Sometimes we try to get as far as Thanksgiving. And then it gets to the point where we know that the weather's coming in. And predominantly on the state roads themselves were permitted, and we have to take them off at certain times. And ours, we just try to say, okay, when it gets really, really close to the point where we're gonna have a storm, then we pull them in. And we'll take them in for the winter and then bring them back out. And usually at that point in time, there's a lot less pedestrian activity at that point in time. But we can look at putting others out on Wheat Street itself. The,
I don't know if that
they
would
get
work.
struck quite often, which is
I was
unbelievable.
gonna say, I'm like, they're always in the
Speeds.
middle of the road. I find when I'm driving, they're not where they're supposed to be. They're like askew.
Well, in
Well,
New York, in New York,
they get struck quite often.
Yes.
I'll be perfect. I liken that to a 4-foot tall child.
Yeah.
So when I have to replace
No.
12 in a year, I'm like, wow, that's 12 kids that got hit.
But
'cause
it
you aren't
kind
paying
of begs the
attention.
question, how effective is it? Because I'm watching them get hit all the time and it's,
because they're moved into the middle of the lane.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in New York City, they screw those into the pavement.
You can, yeah. In Cheshire, they screw them into the pavement. When you get hit, then it winds up annihilating everything down below, right?
Yeah.
So then you start fracturing your pavement. We'd rather not have things,
yeah, well, I just hope like, if we can, I know everyone is trying to address the speeding issues, but if we can kind of continue, and I know you're probably doing this, take some of those suggestions from the spec presentation. I know that, narrowing it and stuff, and continue to do things that kind of
Wheat Street,
beyond these, yeah.
Wheat Street, we have edge lines and center lines, right? So we've tried to narrow the lanes as much as
Right.
possible there. So it's about, where we are. In other areas, to your point, we're looking at whether removing center lines, putting in edge lines.
Yeah, which is so
or-
interesting.
Or other things as far as like, turning off the traffic signals. We're taking a look at each one of what we would consider low-hanging fruit
Right.
from his suggestions and see if those will have a positive impact.
Yeah, but I think in this kind of, unfortunately, car culture, drivers don't think people are crossing the road. So hopefully the combination of the speed camera, this is your speed camera, and this will, maybe people can take it down a notch.
well, I'd love to just, only because I don't love flashing signs. I think they're kind of ugly and it really is sort of visual pollution in the town. And so if we can find something that's more attractive and less, and more effective, I understand it might not
next
be
step
out
up from
there
this
now,
is
but
the-
I do really not like to see all kinds of blaring flashing lights
The
in
good
our
thing about these, though,
bucolic
they only
town.
fsh when somebody's in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
When somebody
Right.
activates it. It's
Right.
not constant flashing.
Right, right.
It's one of the reasons why we went to them, was just because, it sits there innocuous, and then it's
Well,
activated
it's the
from.
yellow sign, but.
Correct. But if we did, we'd have a yellow sign there for the pedestrian crosswalk anyways, right? So that would be there. Couldn't get
Yeah.
rid of that.
Yeah.
But the flashing portion of it, and to your point, the next one up from this is what's called the Hawk, which is one of the most ugliest things I've ever seen.
Or a stop sign.
So-
I mean, quite frankly, why can't you do a stop sign?
It's not appropriate for a crosswalk.
Right. See, to your point, on Weed Street, we have two crossings. We have one at Wahackney and Weed, and then one at Elm and Weed. Now, while Elm and Weed might be a candidate for a three-way stop, Wahackney and Weed certainly isn't. And that one would be a situation where you would not get adherence to the stop sign, which would then have people blowing through it, which you would then at that point, in essence, cause an accident or cause an accident elsewhere, because you're anticipating the person stopping and they don't. So we can't, at every one of our mid-block crosswalks, we can't place a stop sign. So we're stuck with these. And in our high pedestrian areas, they've proven effective, and like I said, they've been proven effective.
It's been an issue for decades, slow down in our town. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I know.
Right, there was
everybody's
another initiative, yeah, that came up at the Sentinel Coffee on Friday, as far as whether or not we wanted to reinstitute it for a third time for, a slowdown in our turn,
Well,
resurgence. as we-
we're about to enter that busy season where everybody's out. I mean, you go through a couple of months here where it seems like our population quadruples and everyone's riding bikes and walking and, it's.
Nice weather.
Yeah, I
Late
mean,
for
everybody
Time
comes.
practice,
change,
you know?
yeah.
And that's when you really got to pay attention. I mean, you got to slow down.
Okay. All right, if there are no more questions, if I could get, a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to enter into a contract with East Coast Signs in the amount of $23,000 plus a freight charge of $900 for a total cost of $23,900 for the purchase of two RRFBs to be installed at the Gower Road South School and Elm Street Kimberly Place intersections.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, guys.
moving on to the special,
The added item?
yes, dump truck purchase.
So this purchase was previously approved in December of '22, excuse me, contingent upon the usage of operating funds from the Board of Finance, which was approved in December 13th of '22, and a purchase order was created. In June of '23, the fiscal year closed, and we lost those operating funds. So we went back to the Board of Finance in November 14 of 2023 for approval of an allocation of the funds that we lost during the fiscal close. It was approximately $18,000. They approved that allocation and put that allocation into a special projects account, 2960-4301-55065-70369. Sorry. So what we're asking now is to actually have those monies allocated to the purchase order so that we can then complete the purchase. In
How
essence,
much does it cost, the actual dump truck? It's not. $18,000.
$233,493.51. With a, right,
Wow.
230, well, it's 238,493.31, because there was some cost surcharges that we don't, we have the quotes from October 17 of 2022. They're taking a year and a half or so, year to 2 years to build. So right now it's finalizing its build, right? So the chassis comes in and then the body gets placed on top of it. Chassis is in, body's being placed, it's ready to go, but we need the monies back into the purchase order so then when it's ready, we can pay for it.
Did it go up in price? I'm sorry.
Hasn't gone up in price.
Oh.
No, we're still at the number that we're at.
Good. So we're basically getting a 2-year-old, two.
We got
Price
2
of
years
2
out of
years
the old one. How about that?
that's a good way to
We
look
got
at
2
it,
years
too.
of savings out of the old one.
Yeah.
So we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, in order to finalize the purchase, we just need the monies reallocated back into the purchase order. And it was suggested or directed that we come and have that done, given the, all the moving parts.
Okay, so now Tiger, you're begging a question.
Sure.
So we haven't had this dump truck for 2 years and we extended the life of an existing dump truck for 2 years. Like, just why did we need it 2 years ago? And
Well, remember that truck is, I think that's a 2004, so we're limping along with it. The weather last year wasn't that bad, and our mechanics are fantastic. So there's two, and we anticipate the fact that it's going to take us 8 months to a year to get one. So when we ask for one, we're anticipating that lifespan going that forward. So we're close, we're probably a little bit further behind. We're not happy with it taking this much longer, but our mechanics are excellent. And we anticipate at the time when it comes up for replacement that it's a year out, at least. We're not looking at going and buying one off the lot and taking it off the lot at that point in time. There's no taking it off the lot.
Have we been getting 20 years out of this size truck in the past? Is that, because
That's about it, yeah, or further, yeah. That's one of the reasons why we have the equipment refurbishing account, is for that reason, right? Is that we can actually do larger scale repairs on some of our larger pieces of equipment,
What do we do with the old truck now?
trade it in.
Is it
usually.
like, is it, they're trade-in against the price?
Yeah, typically, yeah. Sometimes we go out on a gov deals, and this one will go out on gov deals to see exactly if we can get something better. That's a bidding service that,
Yeah,
it's an
so
auction
the total
service.
price of it is, was it just say
It's
230?
238, 493,
And then
31.
we'll get something back.
Then we'll get
from
monies
this.
back,
And
yeah.
that'll
We
go
don't
back
anticipate a
into-
lot.
Where's that go to? Does it go to your refurbishing fund, or where's it go?
That, it doesn't go back to refurbishing fund. It would either go back into the account that it was expended out of, or it would go to a sale of assets fund, and that would go back into the general fund.
Okay,
If we don't need it towards the purchase, it'll go back to a sale of assets. So it'll just roll right back in again. We can't reallocate that to a different location.
okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank
No
you.
problem.
All right, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the Department of Public Works to allocate funds in the amount of $18,493.31 to a previously approved purchase order from FY '23 to FY '24.
So moved.
Second.
Amy.
Would you like me to do
unanimous.
trees now, too, before I get up and get back? Is that okay, or you want me to come back?
It's 23.
23.
I just, you know what, I just want to make sure, yeah, I guess I just want to make sure, because we had, okay, she's down below, never mind. I was looking for, where's the $2,000? Because we've had Rose here.
Quality service, is it
Where do we have it?
All right,
Where's
that was
Rose?
19, I think.
19?
Oh, let
Oh.
Rose, because she's been sitting here for
Sure.
a while.
Okay.
And then, yeah,
Don't go far.
don't go
I'm
far,
not
because
going
you're coming
far.
right back, but I
Just
just,
sitting in the
she's been
back.
sitting here for a while, so I just wanted to let her. go.
Hey, Rose, how are you? Rose loves coming to our meetings, right, Rose?
You have to speak into these mics.
Okay,
Everybody wants to speak softly.
okay, no problem. I think you can hear me. We're just looking for an approval on existing funds that we have, but we've already paid our supplier $10,000. So we're going over that now because I use them for multiple items. And Ann's going to explain the breakdown for you because she's better at it.
So right now, in front of you, we're actually going to change the amount. It has $3,500. We're actually going to change that to $9,000, and I'll explain why. The 35 has to do with the supplemental bills that just went out the door. In addition to, we have an off-site storage for our tax records for protection and backup. The difference of the $6,000 going up is a bill that we recently got. The QDS, which is Quality Data Service, is now hosted. It's not internal anymore, it's now hosted up with QDS. So that started in December, so we have 6 months of a fee coming in of about $6,000. We do have, it's going to be split between the assessor and collector, so we do have the money in both budgets, which I'll do the accounting on to make sure it hits both budgets appropriately, but Ro will be paying it out of hers, and I'll split it appropriately. So the request is actually for $9,500.
So, oh, 9,000.
Yeah, 9,500, so we have that hosting service in it. And we do have enough in next year's budget for this new hosting service that they have.
But, and we don't have all these backup bills here for the.
No,
I'm just trying to understand.
yeah, so
exactly.
in total, the collector side spends about $18,000 for QDS. But it's broken down into different pieces because of the different services that QDS does along the way. So it was just one PO as needed. Now we're putting it under the one bucket of saying for everything. So we've already paid for July's bills and services and postage, any delinquent statements going out the door. And now we have the supplemental from January. So that's pushed us over that 10,000 marker. So going forward in May, you'll see a request coming from Roe in terms of probably 15 to 16,000, which will cover everything for the full year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the bills here, but there's no other You're saying we already spent that?
So we've already spent, there was a PO set up at the beginning to cover July's bills and
Okay.
postage. That was under
Which is the
10,
big one?
which is part of the big one.
Yeah.
That was under 10 at that point, so it never would have come in front of this board. These ones now are going to put, outside of the 6,000, this is putting it over the 10, so it needs to come in front of the board.
Okay.
And then going forward, like I said, you'll see it all up front in May or June, once the budget is approved. You'll see all the departments coming in front of you. So we're not coming out during the year. We're going to do it one time at the beginning of the year, and then we're covered for the full year.
Okay.
Yeah. Questions?
Yeah, we've used QDS in the past, right? I mean, they're.
Oh, QES is our
17
tax,
years.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the tax system for both the assessor and collector.
Yep.
So 2 years ago, I did look at someone else, because you know me, I hate spending money. And so I.
Love you, Rose.
I just,
Love you.
I always see the big picture. And so I went to someone else about 2 years ago, and they did a demo for us. They did a demo for Sebi, because, you know, the assessor collector have to, the systems have to speak to each other. And so we both looked at it, and then we said, all right, well, what's your pricing? The system didn't look that bad. Gave us the pricing, and we were both astounded at how expensive they were versus what we're using now. So, and QDS is right now, they have about probably 120 out of the 160 towns and cities in Connecticut.
Right. Okay.
Great. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the tax collector to approve a requisition with QDS in the amount of $9,500 for printing and mailing of supplemental tax bills and backup services
And hosting.
hosting
Hosting services.
for remote offsite, backup service for remote offsite storage and hosting services.
So moved.
Steve, Amy, it's unanimous. Thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Cheryl. Oh, you want to go to, yeah, why don't we can have Tiger now, sorry.
Get him back, get him out.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. This next request is from the tree warden. We went out for our last bid for trees, for tree removal. It was for 10 separate locations. Received 3 bidders. Olmsted came in at the low at 18,840. 12 locations. Some of them, just of note, are in Waveney Park. So we have Waveney Park along the South Avenue entrance, remove the damaged leaning tulip tree and the decayed tulip. Waveney Park along the pathway near the South Avenue entrance, remove 2 dead oak trees. Waveney itself, the driveway behind the Powerhouse Theater, remove 2 dying sugar maples. And by the fitness area, to remove 2 white pines, 1 Norway maple, and 1 ash in that location. The rest are throughout town itself, but those are the only ones that are of note. And then behind the town hall annex, there's a large U along the access road that is leaning out into the roadway that's problematic. And that's it.
Do you have any idea why there's such a humongo gap in these bids? Did Davy just not want it?
Sometimes I'll do it for that. To be quite honest, sometimes they want to continue to be on the bidders list, and I'll do it for that. I'm really swamped, but I'll take care of it if you want me to. Really, that's, we see that across the board on many bids. They still want to be on the bidders list. They still want to be there, but they'll do it based upon I had that in several paving bids that it just came back in. One contractor, complete outlier, but he's swamped right now, and he's totally swamped. He said, well, I'll do it, but I'm going to do it for that. So
Got it.
that's where it's at. That's why, so if you have multiple bidders, we're much better off, so.
Okay.
Do we communicate with the Waveney Conservancy at all on the way?
Conservancy's aware of each one of these, yeah. They're, so yes, and they're in agreement with them as well, so they had no issue. The ones in and around that fitness area will actually be augmenting the plantings. You approved a contract with Keith Simpson, I think it was last session, for that exact purpose, was to then, knowing we were going to have to remove a couple of these to fit the fitness area and the playground area, what would we do to screen, to help the Conservancy, because that was one of their concerns. So we have that working forward.
Hey, while we're speaking of that fitness area, when does that equipment come out, the old stuff?
So at present, we're just finalizing the design for the fitness area itself. And we're looking to, Ryan's running through pricing right now for the equipment. Once we have that, then we'll have an entire package, and he'll be able to bring that package back to you for the fitness area. We're looking to relocate the fitness area slightly to the east and north in that area to allow the fitness area to be removed and then the playground area to go in place. We're working with a committee that was established through Park and Rec of various
Now, I just meant, when is
residents.
the old stuff coming out?
We'll be coming to you within the
Are
next,
we gonna do it all
next
at
month
one
or two.
time?
The fitness area we'll do once we install the new equipment, the old stuff will come out. So yes, it's one contract, and that'll be coming to you in the next couple months.
Yeah, I just thought when we talked about this like years ago, it was like beyond its useful life, and
Certain of the apparatus
be
were
used.
beyond we took those out of service. The other ones that are there should be replaced, they're working towards the end. If we run into any problems with each one, we take them out.
okay.
But within the next month or two, you'll have a complete contract in front of you for new equipment, the port in place, the work to actually prepare the area, and then the removal of the old, all in one shot. So that whole fitness area will be replaced, and then it'll leave us an area to then work with for the playground. And the playground won't be until probably next season, next year, because they want to fundraise for some additional apparatus and some additional amenities.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from the tree warden to enter into a contract with Olmsted Tree and Shrub Care in the amount of $18,840. The project entails the removal, pruning, and stump removal of various trees in town.
So moved.
Second. Amy, it's unanimous.
Thank you.
Tiger. All right, moving on to Cheryl, part-time employee, and John.
And Tucker. Good morning. In front of you, you have a resume for Rachel Lampin. We had posted this position. We had 29 applications. We interviewed 3. She currently has her own PR marketing agency. She has worked with interior designers, graphic designers, and architects. She's run a food show for Brighton Food festivities. She's been a member of the Chamber, helped produce 3 videos about New Canaan. She managed Bedford Post Inn. She was the editor of Hamlet Hub, and she has been very involved in the hospitality field. So after we met the candidates, she definitely rose to the top, and we would like to recommend that we bring her on part-time.
Any questions?
Just remind me, where is that going, the enterprise fund, the salary? for-
Yes, in the self-sustaining fund.
Okay.
In the section for, I think it's labeled weddings, but it's
Okay.
weddings and events.
Yeah. How much time do you anticipate?
It's, right now, we're starting at 20 hours a week, and then we'll assess it as we go.
Okay.
When you average this, what would you say the main responsibilities for this person would be?
One of the big important ones for us is touring the house with prospective brides and some grooms. But, meeting the public out there at the times.
Come on.
That's who we usually see, brides and their mothers. So that would be one of the big things. But then it's all the contracts, making sure that that they have the proper documentation.
And I just wanted to add to that, and Rachel lives in town. Many of these requests are on weekends.
Yeah.
She's willing to do that as part of her 20 hours if someone wants it on a Saturday. Right now, we're confined to really the hours that Waveney House is open. And she also, as Cheryl said, has a great marketing background, so she can really help keep the website, the wedding website refreshed and that kind of thing.
Good.
Yeah, and as someone who is in this market right now and had a daughter who had trouble viewing this facility, because she only had weekend availability as well. I think it's a great way to kind of promote the house for more usage and hopefully, improve the revenue stream. And she's great. I mean,
She's got a great personality.
I've seen her at the Staying Put. She did the Staying Put event with her company, and was also involved with the Chamber with the Taste of New Canaan. I mean, I feel like everything she's been involved with has been really high quality events. So I think we're lucky to have her as a resident and willing to take this on for us.
She actually sent me an email yesterday afternoon, wondered if she could come in first thing this morning. So we're meeting at noon. Everything.
Great.
Well, the fact that she knows New Canaan so well is huge.
Right.
That's a huge leg up from getting somebody from outside that has no idea
Right.
what New Canaan is. And she's lived it, knows it. So I think it's a perfect match. So
Great.
Good find.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, if I could get a motion to approve a request from Human Resources Director to require, to hire Rachel Lampin as a part-time wedding coordinator.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, Cheryl, municipal agent appointment.
Okay, so every couple years, the Board of Selectmen has to appoint a municipal agent. This would be Bethany Zorro. The municipal agent is really here to assist our residents 60 and over, to give information and referrals such as Medicare programs, Medicaid, the SNAP program, Social Security, and Protective Services. So we are looking for a 4-year appointment.
Okay.
And she's held this position in the past, right?
She has,
Yeah.
yes. For whatever reason, it doesn't look like she'd been appointed for many years, so it's just something that we need to make sure.
I got some emails.
Right, from the
It's
state.
like, we need this. So,
I'm sorry, appointed, is this a state appointment or to?
the town
It's a town
appoints.
appointment. Every town appoints a municipal agent, and
Okay,
it
so
has
that's
to
a state
be,
requirement that every town.
correct, and it has to be the appointing authority, which is you guys.
Okay.
That's great. I mean, Bethany's done a great job in everything she's done, especially in those areas you mentioned. So I highly support the appointment. So I'm ready.
Okay. So if I could get an approval of a request from the Human Resources Director to authorize the appointment of Bethany Zorro as the municipal agent for the elderly.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
That was probably the easiest one of the day.
Inland Wetlands Committee. Oh, that's me. Sorry. I was like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do this one. Okay. I'm looking for approval. The Inland Wetlands Commission had a resignation recently, and so this would just be moving up Sandy Redden, who is an alternate on Inland Wetlands, into the position vacated by, I can't remember the gentleman's name, Paul something. No, I can't. Anyway, but it's a Republican for a Republican, so we're moving up, so that's it.
Yep.
And Sandy's been a really active member. Every time I look at the meetings, he's always there and participating.
Yeah,
so.
Sandy's awesome.
Yep, okay. So could I get a motion to approve the appointment of Sandy Redden as a regular member of the Inland Wetlands Commission for a 2-year term ending December 1st, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's unanimous. And you have on your tablets the contracts and review of contracts 10,000 and under. If you have any comments, let me know. Otherwise, we will move on to Selectmen comments. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add? Just tonight is the Board of Finance public hearing on the budget, so
That starts at 6:30, right?
6:30. Public comment starts at 6:30, so that's about it from me.
Amy, are you twitching not being there, or are you okay?
Sorry?
Are you twitching not being there? Are you going to be okay?
I went last week,
No,
in person. So, no.
All right. Moving on to the possible executive session. Is it an executive session?
Yes.
Okay, so could I get a motion to move into executive session for a personnel matter, consideration on a personnel
moved.
matter?
So much.
Second.
Okay, it's unanimous. It's 9:59.
And we'd like to invite Dennis Barron and Jimmy Peck, they are the union members.
Okay,
Tyler Mann is the Director of Public Works.
okay. And then
And
Tucker?
And Tucker.
Okay.
And Cheryl, right? Yes. She have to be invited?
Cheryl is.
Yes.
Okay, it's 10:08 and we've moved out of executive session. And I need a motion to approve a 5-day unpaid suspension for town employee Mark Fisher.
So moved.
Second.
It's unanimous. And that's the end of the agenda, so if I could get a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Unanimous, 10:08. Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.